Before I begin the sermon that I wrote, I realized that there's something that most people don't know that also occurs at the Easter Vigil. This cathedral honors World AIDS Day, which this year happened to be the first Sunday of December. And during that service, we invited anyone who wished to write down the name of a family member, friend, or loved one that had died of AIDS, HIV. Now, we don't just toss those names, we keep them. And sometimes I'll actually bring them to different services. So they've spent time in the cathedral and in All Saints Chapel. And at the Easter Vigil, a colleague and I, after you all come back into the cathedral, we burn those names in the Easter Vigil fire, so that those names are raised up in smoke and their names are prayed again as they rise up to heaven, not to be forgotten. That's not written in the bulletin, and most of you don't know that that is something that occurs. Now for my sermon. There is so much theology to unpack when it comes to Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday. Holy Saturday, today, this evening, is this Easter Vigil. The Vigil is the time that we wait. But why? Our lessons for this evening offer us a glimpse of our history. From our very first lesson we heard this evening from Exodus, we learn about our ancestors, about their great deliverance from the Egyptians. We heard, "Thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the Egyptians." Israel saw the great work that the Lord had done against the Egyptians. Our second lesson, and the exquisite words of salvation from Isaiah, we heard, "For the rain, as the rain and the snow came down from heaven, and do not return there until they have watered the earth, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty." Exquisite words of salvation. Ezekiel's prophecy of life. After what feels like an existence of destruction and death, Ezekiel's story of dry bones have been words of hope for many generations of those who have been persecuted. To Zephaniah, that tiny little 3-chapter book in the Old Testament that 99.9% of us have not read. The words draw us to the understanding that our ancestors, Jews, Gentiles, and then Christians alike, would be blessed. It tells us of a gathering of all God's people. It says such beautiful words of comfort, like, "I will bring you home. I will bring you home." Tragedy and destruction seems to stir our hearts at times and brings beautiful words of sorrow together. One of the most beautiful hymns I have the privilege of hearing occasionally is "Take My Hand, Precious Lord." Written in Chicago in 1932 by a gentleman whose name was Thomas Dorsey, following the death of his wife Nettie and their infant son during childbirth. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to that light. Take my hand, precious Lord. Lead me home. Bring me home, Lord. Bring me home to the waters of baptism. We have renewed our vows of baptism this evening. Some of us were baptized as infants, some as adults, but all of us need to remember that these waters of baptism bring us home. From our epistle of Romans this evening we heard, we know that our old self was crucified with him so that the body of sin might be destroyed, and we might no longer be enslaved to sin. Yes, we are sinners. Yes, tomorrow we will sin in spite of our renewal this evening because we're human. And then our gospel reading this evening. Now, remember, we're waiting. We are preparing for Easter morning. We are in a vigil. We are waiting and we are remembering the tragedy of Good Friday. And we are waiting for a hope of a miracle. Our Book of Common Prayer states that the Easter Vigil should be celebrated at a convenient time between sunset on Holy Saturday, which is today, and sunrise on Easter morning, unquote. Our siblings of the Orthodox Christian tradition have their vigil proceed well into the night, celebrating the sunrise. We Episcopalians offer moderation. As usual, I like to think of it as another example of our theology of via media, also known as the middle way. Via media allows us to vigil this evening, not too late and not too early, but just right. So that we can come back tomorrow, but not too early. Please, tomorrow morning. You see, miracles do occur. Like, how did that big, huge rock roll away from the tomb that Jesus was laid in just a day earlier? Also, like, how was it that loving, mothering nature of a few women who were friends of Jesus, that loved and respected him, brought them to the tomb early in the morning to care for the dead body of Jesus? Tradition and love was stronger for these women than the fear of the authorities who might have been guarding the tomb. Remember, it was the Roman authorities who were afraid of Jesus, afraid of his power, afraid that he might be the new king, and they could not have that. The chosen family of Jesus, Jews and Gentiles alike, did not condemn Jesus to death. The Romans' authority did. And the fear of the Roman authority associated with a regime of power led to the murder of Jesus. So the miracle of love led these women to break the law and go care for their friend in a proper, traditional manner, no matter what might happen to them. They needed to properly care for his body. Myrrh and frankincense, nard and cinnamon bark, cassia oil, and cloves. The tomb was open, and Jesus was gone. The angels told the women, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He's not here. He has risen." He's not here. He is risen. This is the miracle we are waiting for this evening, this night. Tomorrow's sunrise is the resurrection. As is my usual habit lately, I brought some tactile, visceral items, sensual items that are part of my Easter family story with me this evening. They're down there. Sensory items. I brought some cassia and clove-infused oil. I invite you to put your finger in it and put it on your hand so you can smell it this evening on your way home. I brought some cinnamon bark and even a couple of the Easter eggs from my collection, along with a stone from Isle of Iona that a little gentleman who used to live there, I'm sure he's long gone, used to collect the stones from the beaches of Iona and then carve a cross in them. That's always been on our Easter table ever since we got back from Iona. Many of us have decorated Easter eggs in our lives. In 3rd grade, one of my schoolmates' mothers, born and raised in the Ukraine, taught us all how to draw and dye Pascha eggs. Pascha is a word for Easter. Over the centuries, the Latin, Greek, and Hebrew words for suffering and for Passover has come down to us as Pascha and now Easter. Pascha eggs, or in the States we commonly call them Ukrainian Easter eggs, help us to remember the resurrection, because the final dye color that you place the egg in is usually red for blood or black for death. My Pascha eggs are dyed. They have been drawn upon with beeswax and crayon. Lately, I've been making paper mache Easter eggs. Luckily, I didn't bring any of those. Yet, I collect them and I share them. Yesterday, 2 of my Pascha eggs accidentally broke. And at first I was like, oh, no. But realistically, they were pretty darn old. But then the act of them breaking absolutely centered me in a way that I did not expect. Eggs roll. Eggs break. Eggs are fragile. Life is fragile. But eggs, they're supposed to break. Otherwise, new life would never come out of them. I had a completely new view on my Easter eggs. Tombstones roll closed. Tombstones can roll open. It allows new life. Jesus did not die and rise from the dead for perfect people. Jesus died and rose for the people who loved him. Jesus died and rose for people who betrayed him, for people who ignored him, for people who doubted him. Jesus died for the people who put him on the cross, and he died for the people who wept openly at the foot of the cross. Jesus died for us. When I was growing up in this faith community, this church building, some people called it a country club for like-minded people. I didn't then, and I don't now, agree with that. That was their opinion. But the church is not a club for just good people. Christianity is not a place for just good people, for just smart people, for just pretty people. It is a space that becomes sacred because it is a gathering place for forgetful people, doubting people, people from different homes and different backgrounds. It's a place where sinners meet, addicts can know love, scared people can find solace, children can learn from the company of elders, young adults can find friends whose only common denominator might be the love of dill pickle jelly beans or 14th century organ music. The real common denominator is that death brings on new life. A broken egg means a new one needs to be drawn. And who knows what it's going to look like. It's a community not of polished and perfect humans who cognitively understand the resurrection. Do all of us cognitively understand the resurrection? It's a people bound together because Jesus is bigger than all of us. ECLA pastor Nadia Bolz-Weber wrote it this way. Just be careful, sometimes her language is kind of purple. Jesus takes our crap and exchanges it for his blessedness. That's the resurrection. I'll take blessedness because I know I need it. Each moment, each day, something is broken. Someone is broken. Jesus died and rose again as a reminder to not let the hard days win. I have a poster in my office with a quote from St. Augustine. It was given to me by a colleague when I worked for Hennepin County Healthcare for the Homeless. St. Augustine said that hope has two daughters, anger and courage. Anger at the way things are, and courage to see that they do not remain as they are. I have two daughters. Coming home to them after being a nurse with the broken, the lost, the addicted, the fearful, the sick, the thrown away, they reminded me daily of courage and hope. They reminded me daily that Jesus died, that Jesus rose from the dead, and that miracles do happen. We are resurrection people. Miracles can meet us daily. Miracles can meet us every day at sunrise, noon, sunset, nighttime. Because Christ is risen. And alleluia, we get to say it again. Alleluia, Christ is risen.
The Lord is risen indeed. Hallelujah.
Amen.